y'all, Sai here. Well, it's July and I'm continuing on with some experiments, and this time I'm going to make an Intarsia, but I want to make it into chocolate. So I'm going to make a chocolate bar Intarsia. So this pattern by Kathy Wise of this rose, I'm going to do that, but first I have to make one out of wood so that I can make my mold. So I made the Intarsia like usual, putting some tape on the wood, gluing the pattern to the tape, and cutting it out on the Hegner. Then I shaped it using my disc and pneumatic sander. While hand sanding, Gibbs wanted to sit on my lap, which was so unusual. So then Wally wanted to come up there too, but they didn't stay long. I continued to sand this piece and I made a tall frame to go around it. But I made it a little bit too flat. So I made another one that was a really curvy Intarsia. And I made a little bit of space between the pieces and I glued them down. I was using food safe silicone, and so I wanted to make sure that I was using food safe spray. And what I read was to use acrylic spray. And so I grabbed a can of some that I had and I just sprayed it with that. My silicone got here. Woo! Excited about it. It is called Smooth Sil, and I read the directions, made some notes on it. And one thing it says is that it should level off at least a half of an inch over the highest point of your project. So I need to make this a little bit taller, and I thought I would just use tape. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to use this postal tape. We'll see. We'll see if this works. The bummer about this silicone is that it takes 24 hours to set. Rats. So I can't do the exciting part until tomorrow. Rats. But I guess this is kind of exciting in its own. It says to use gloves, but not latex gloves. I have my postal scale to help me. I was glad to have this postal scale, but I discovered as you add to it, it doesn't adjust the weight. So you have to lift off whatever you're weighing and set it back down again for it to give you the new weight. So this made it a difficult and long process. And I had to calculate out a percentage of the hardener to mix with the silicone, and with my wonderful math skills, that was very much a challenge too. And then it just so happens that I ended up using the entire container, so I could have just mixed the two parts together and never had to measure anything. Yikes! Poor time. So I poured it into the first mold and then saw some bubbles come out. So I jiggled and tapped it, trying to get more bubbles out, and that really worked. The instructions didn't say anything about needing to do that, so this may have been an unnecessary step. And then poured the second one, and it was just a little shy of the top of the wood frame. Okay, now we gotta let it set for 24 hours. It's been 24 hours. Pretty nervous. Pretty nervous. The tape worked great since I didn't have that tall enough frame, but it was a real challenge to get the silicone off of the wood. I ended up breaking apart the wood with a chisel and finally was able to release it. Whew. Look, there it is. Ah, nice. I think it turned out. Just have to get the wood out of a couple of these pieces right here. Huh. Yay. Let's take a look at this one. I used the chisel again and took off those tall frame pieces, and I was able to grab a corner of it, and so I put it on the floor and held it with my foot and was able to pull it off. I don't know what I was thinking when I made that one. Yeah, I don't think this one's gonna accomplish anything. But this one will. Yay! I washed it up with some soap and water. I made my favorite chocolate recipe and poured it into the mold. I put it in the fridge to set up overnight. Okay, it's the next day. It's been in the fridge all night. So, ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited to see. Ah, so exciting! I can barely contain myself. It came out of the mold very easily, but was more of a huge chunk of chocolate rather than individual pieces like an Intarsia. Okay, there it is. Ah! I'd like to see if I can separate, that broke a little bit, separate these pieces here. That was my goal, to have it be in different pieces. Okay. So it kind of worked, and I need to work on it a little bit more. Okay, but there it is. Chocolate. Yay! I have some ideas of how to make this better. So I just have to order more silicone and try it again. And then here's what the rose looked like after this piece broke. And then you can see pieces of the silicone stuck in there. So I need to have more space between each piece. That's the secret, I think. So, all right, I'm just gonna try to do it again. But thanks for watching, everybody. And it sure tastes good. We'll see you next time. Bye. So I did do this experiment again, but I decided to make a whole separate video for that. As for this rose, it looked pretty cool, but it wasn't those individual Intarsia pieces I was hoping for. So it wasn't a success, but it wasn't a total failure either, because I ate the entire thing and it was delicious. The recipe can be found in the description box below. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye!